welcome back to Animal Wise Radio. Well, our final recipient that we're speaking to today of the Henery Berg Leadership Awards presented today by the No Kill Advocacy Center is Peter Masloch from No Kill, Allegheny County. And this is a story that I'm just really excited to hear about. I mean, it sounds like a fascinating story. I'm interested in meeting Peter. Sounds like an interesting guy. So I say we just dive right into it. Welcome to Animal Wise Radio, Peter, and congratulations on your Henery Berg Leadership Award.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hello, Beth. Hello, Mike.
Can you start by telling our listeners, where is Allegheny County, and how is it that you got Allegheny County on the map for no kill in the United States?
Allegheny County is a small county, rural county in western Maryland. We are a small county like 100 other counties, I got involved because I heard of a story about animals getting killed in that shelter, and so I started volunteering there. And it was already kind of that the old shelter manager was resigning because of the ongoings, because of the killing that was going on there.
So the community had some awareness and was concerned, or how would you describe that? You say that the shelter manager was going to leave.
Yes, things were made public. It started with a story about 4 dogs that were rescued from an abandoned house. There were 4 dogs in an abandoned house. Animal control was called. The animal control officer came out. And he said, well, if I take these 4 dogs to the shelter, they will be killed. And everybody was, what do you mean? It was like, we rescue 4 dogs and then you take them to the shelter and kill them? That doesn't make any sense. So that was made public. A TV station came down from Baltimore. And after that, a rescue group from Baltimore came then and took the dogs. That was that story. But then we dig deeper into it, what was happening in that shelter, and we looked then at the statistic and we saw these horrible things going on there. And basically, in one of the commissioners' meetings where I went, I said to the public, in the average, every 2 hours an animal is being killed in that shelter, and that cannot be,
Right. What's the point of calling it a shelter if that's the outcome?
Yeah.
Well, how was that?
I mean, that is a definition of a slaughterhouse and not the definition of a shelter.
And how was that received by the commissioners?
Here's the lucky thing that happened right before that. We got 3 new commissioners, like a week before this happened. So they were very open to us and they listened to us, which was extremely lucky for us. So and they listened to us, and of course I made that all public, what was going on in that shelter, and then over time I heard more and more stories from people, from former volunteers, from former employees, and it was horrible.
Well, so to get us up to speed and up to date today, what I understand you now have at the shelter a live release rate of about 94%. Is that about right?
Yeah, we went from a 85% kill rate to about 94% live release rate.
And how long did that take?
It took only days, actually.
Wow.
What happened was the overseeing government body, Dick DeVore, who is the chief of emergency services, he's also overseeing the shelter, and he put a stop on all euthanizations. As soon as the shelter director resigned, he put a stop on all euthanizations, except of when an animal is vicious or dangerous, or when the health department ordered it. But otherwise, he put a stop on all euthanizations.
Wow, and then the traditional story would have been, well, that would just mean all the animals would pile up in the shelter, but I'm guessing that didn't happen. That people actually started showing up to adopt.
Our opposition, of course, was saying, "Oh, you will have all these animals. What are you going to do?" But we started right away. We had a wonderful person who was like a rescue coordinator for us. So we had rescues pulling animals from us. We started doing off-site adoptions, which was very successful. So it went very well, actually.
And was this a surprise to you personally, or did you have the conviction when you first found out about how many animals were dying in your community shelter? Did you have the conviction that it just doesn't have to be this way? We can be successful.
Well, right from the first time I heard that, I didn't know anything about the no-kill movement at that time. I didn't know anything about it, you know. But I said to myself, that is wrong. That that doesn't even sound right.
Mm-hmm.
So and I said to myself, I need to change that, because it is not right that animals are dying. It just isn't, you know.
I agree, but it's remarkable to me that you just found that conviction in yourself, and with the information that you had or didn't have, just kind of made the decision that you were going to participate in trying to make a change.
Well, and the other thing that I find fascinating is there's a parallel in this story that seems to be consistent in other places. You know, in Reno, Nevada, in Austin, Texas, in Charlottesville, Virginia. When each of those places went no-kill, it actually took people who were sort of new, people who were sort of outside the normal system. So you have these 3 new commissioners who are council members who had no history or responsibility for the past killing. They're probably more open to looking at alternatives. So it's the fresh minds and the fresh thinking which, you know, brings the success about, rather than the old school kind of system. Do you think that if the historical people who had been involved in the killing there if you tried to sway them, do you think that would have been a harder approach, or do you think it was easier because you had new people to talk to?
I think it was easier because of the new people there, because we untangled that whole network, you know. Here in our area, we talk about the good old boy network, you know, where we untangled that whole network about the shelter manager and how that all the shelter board and it was kind of all people in these positions that knew each other, and it was a network, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gosh, it's such a fascinating story. I mean, how many animals, you know, typically come through the shelter? I mean, trying to get a sense of the size of the community and how many animals you serve there.
It is not that much. We have, in the average, an intake of 1,500 in the year.
Mm-hmm. But you're a very small community, so given your community population, it's still a lot of animals.
Yeah. It is, and it is not. It is manageable.
Well, the thing that I think about when we talk about large communities or small communities, and people may say, oh, well, that's easier in a small community versus a big community. The thing is, to me, it's about what you did. You made a decision that what was happening, all of the killing of the animals without thought, just wasn't right. And if we're going to even pretend to have a sheltering system, shouldn't we actually be about trying to rehome and protect the animals that actually need shelter? Doesn't matter if it's a big community or a small community. And I just am always thrilled to meet someone, I don't care how big the community is or how small, that has kind of stepped up, to say it can be done differently.
If every shelter said, this is my yard, this is my space, I'm going to take care of everything in my space, we would be a no-kill nation tomorrow. And so from all of us at Animal Wise Radio, Peter, thank you so much for your work. Congratulations on your Henery Berg Leadership Award. If people want more information about his organization, they can find him at nokillallegheny.wordpress.com. And we will be back with more Animal Wise right after this.
Everybody needs